The Bliss Business Podcast, the show about empathy, connection, and consciousness in business. Today's episode is brought to you by Zero Company, your paid search, social media, and programmatic ad experts.
Welcome back to the Bliss Business Podcast series, Scaling with Purpose. These are our 10 to 15 minute podcast shows where we explore how to embed purpose into every level of your organization. I'm Steven Sakach here again with Tullio, Siragusa, and Maher. Hey guys.
Hello.
Hey, is this one of our last ones of this series, Steven?
We're getting close to the wrap up. I think we got this one and one more. And so today we're focusing on purpose-driven branding and marketing, how to ensure that your brand and marketing efforts clearly communicate and reinforce your organization's purpose at every touch point. There's a lot to this, and it could use a lengthy kit series in itself. Hint, hint, that's probably what we're doing next. But let's jump in to get a feel for some of this.
Thanks, Steven. Well, in today's landscape, customers don't just want to know what you do, they want to know why you do it. Brands without a clear purpose come across as generic. They're forgettable. But brands that stand for something meaningful, they become movements. They earn loyalty, not just attention.
Exactly. Purpose really is the heartbeat of a memorable brand. When your mission shows up in your visuals, your tone, your voice, the content you share, your packaging, it absolutely builds trust. And not to mention also that consistency creates a sense of comfort. It's just clean and peaceful. So it turns a message into a magnet. And that's really what we're striving for. People don't just want to buy, from you. They want to believe in you. So this takes discipline. It's not something that just happens, but you have to embed purpose into every touch point, not just in your about page. So it's being absolutely intentional, consistently intentional about it, weaving it into everything you do, including even the packaging. Look at companies like Apple when Steve Jobs was there. Everything reflected design. Everything had some intention and purpose, and you experienced it through the entire cycle of your touch points with them.
I love that example because I remember, I think they were working with Chaya Day, and there was this video is still on YouTube when he had just launched Next, and the first thing that they came in with was the packaging of the Next computer. And they were just talking about that for maybe 30, 40 seconds of that docuseries about how beautiful the packaging was. So every little thing that they did, the ion design, that the humanities crossing technology, that was embedded in Apple's purpose, or in this case, Next at the time.
So this is where most brands struggle. The website says one thing, the ads say another, and the customer experience says something, entirely different. And so it creates this cognitive dissonance, and customers feel it. The consistency isn't just a branding best practice. It's purpose in action is really what it is. So let's dive into this and break it down. So here are 3 ways your purpose should be guiding your branding and your marketing efforts. And so first, your story needs to be anchored in your purpose, right? That's really where we've got to start.
Absolutely. And, it starts with storytelling. Okay. So your origin story, your customer success stories, your team intros, every story should reflect your deeper mission. This isn't just about history. It's about alignment. Why do you exist? Why do you serve? What change are you trying to make in the world?
Right. And purpose-led stories, they inspire emotional connection. The emotional connection is where the loyalty is born, And in fact, research shows that emotionally connected customers have a 306% higher lifetime value than merely satisfied one. This is not compared to dissatisfied customers. This is compared to those customers who are satisfied. That's a 306% higher lifetime value if you create emotional connection. That's why you want to lead with heart, not hype. So important.
And your messaging, it's got to reflect your mission, right? So from your website copy to your email subject lines, are you reinforcing your values? Are you communicating in a way that aligns with your brand's soul? So purpose-driven messaging, it's less about, the product specs and the features and benefits and all that. And it's more about people and impact and intention when you're doing it right.
And your marketing campaigns have to be rooted in meaning. So run campaigns that live your purpose. If your brand stands for empowerment, show that in action. Don't just talk about it. Highlight community members, run cause-aligned partnerships, share behind the scenes of how your values show up operationally. Marketing is not a billboard, it's an invitation. So a company that did this really well, an example was HEB Heb, a Texas-based grocery chain, which recently beat out REI for the #1 spot on the Forbes list for best brands for social impact. They survived 160,000 people for this list. The Heb purpose, or the HEB purpose, to make positive impact on the communities they serve. How it lives its purpose, they consistently demonstrated their commitment to community support and social responsibility. Their initiatives included disaster response, community programs where they engage in initiatives such as free grocery giveaways. They even had an Earth Day, reusable bag distribution, and donations to local nonprofits. And then lastly, their chairman is also known for his support of public education and the arts, reflecting the company's broader commitment to societal well-being as a whole.
Yeah, and I think on that Earth Day, they gave out something like 200,000 plus reusable bags. So they're living it. So the key for HEB and all those activities, they all align with their purpose of being a good community citizen, right? It's part of their DNA. And it's really what this series has been about, is how to build that purpose into your DNA. And once you do that, then you can tell your story much better. Now, if you don't know where to start with your purpose or how to tell a marketing story around your purpose, that's where AI CMO fits into this. If you're listening and thinking this all sounds amazing, but how do I actually do it at scale? That's exactly why we built AI CMO.
Yeah, in fact, with AI CMO, what it does, it helps you discover, number one, and then articulate your company's higher purpose. And that's the key thing. That's probably what people struggle the most, is discovering that purpose. Some people actually set out to start a business with a purpose in mind, but most kind of like, what is my purpose? They're backtracking. So how do you do that? Well, it helps you discover it and then articulate it so that your company's higher purpose is square and center with what you're doing. And if you don't already have it clearly defined, this is what you want to use. But it doesn't stop there. Then it translates that purpose into emotionally intelligent marketing content that's consistent across every channel. So it integrates this purpose into messaging that will resonate at an emotional level. We talked about earlier that 306% higher lifetime value for brands that connect emotionally. Well, this is what it does for you. But then the biggest challenge from that is, once you've landed on that, is keeping consistent, whether it's your ad copy, your blog, your social media posts, etc. So it does all that. So you have that consistency. And then that allows you to create email sequences, for example, that are based on nurturing the relationship you have with clients who are wanting to connect with that purpose. And that's the thing you end up discovering when you do this, is that there are actually people waiting for you to discover them because they're already there. It's like they're finally like, oh, finally, here's a brand that resonates with what I already want. So that discovery is mutual. And that's when the beautiful thing happens. That's when you have magic with marketing, when you actually create that mutual connection with your clients.
Yeah, I think, here's where it's really powerful is, you're as marketers, we're always being pulled in all kinds of different directions. And there's never, like we don't have things to do. We've got a lot to do. And so this is, you're hopping from one thing to the next. And then sometimes this is how your marketing just gets all scattered, right? So one of the things we really were trying to be focused on was to align all of that. Like Tullio said, if you want to blog, if you want to email, and you want, ad copy, all around, these central messages, and to do it quickly and with speed and scale. So that's why we built this. And it's always through the lens of your why. So that's what makes it different from a lot of AI marketing tools. It doesn't just create the content. It creates resonance. And so think of it like this.
A week from now, join us. We actually have a workshop a week from now. It's going to be, just go on aicmo.io/workshop. If you want to learn and go deep in these topics that we're talking about beyond this short 10, 15-minute podcast here, we're going to have a nice workshop for you to join us if you want to learn a bit more about that.
Yep. And, you'll be able to find the recording too, if you're listening to this, a month after the fact. But so think of it like this. AICMO is your emotionally intelligent marketing co-pilot. It makes sure your story, your tone, and messages are always grounded in what your brand stands for, even as you grow, scale, and delegate more of your marketing work to your staff. So it's very creative in helping you build that deeper connection with your customers. So to wrap up here, so to recap here, purpose-driven branding. It's really about kind of some three things here: telling stories that reflect your mission, right? We talked about that. Speaking with your voice that's rooted in your values, and then running campaigns that feel like real-world extensions of your purpose. In the next episode, we are going to explore evolving purpose for long-term success. So tune in, and don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast with others on the path to building meaningful, scalable businesses. We'll see you next time.